Hey everybody, Edo here, and this is Galactic Scoundrels by Little Rock Games. It is live on Kickstarter now, and Galactic Scoundrels is a 3 to 6 player card-driven storytelling game. And I don't do too many role-playing game reviews on the channel. I just don't get that many, and I don't do role-playing games specifically. But they reached out to me, they mentioned the siblings' trouble, which will pull on my heartstrings at any time, and I figured I would take a look. This is again, it's basically a game where you're trying to act out in character, sci-fi, galactic scoundrels, bounty hunters, what have you, and you are going to be going on various jobs, and you're going to be trying to get jobs and then go on jobs and tell stories along the way. And as you're telling a story, the other players are trying to impact your story with different events and encounters and things, and steal the job or inhibit your ability while you're trying to be successful. Mechanically very light, a couple different things going on. And I had an interesting conversation as we were playing it around, why would you play a card role-playing game when you could just play a role-playing game? And I think the answer to that question is when it's done well, it gives you the opportunity to explore a role-playing space like being a space pirate, without necessarily all the overhead of the books and the systems and the plays. And that's sort of, to me, where I think of this. Is this a fun time to play at night when you're trying to, to do some storytelling? So, in Galactic Scoundrels, everyone's going to have a hand, and these are a hand of encounters and traits. One thing I could say is this game has very fancy moves, very nice graphic design, and everyone will start with a ship. Start with a basic ship, and you are, and I have to say the humor here is very self-referential or sci-fi. Like all the jobs are jokes. The breakout of the game is episode 4, episode 5, episode 6, and so it's sort of it's both a role-playing space and also just poking fun at the genre, like over the top, and in particular, content from the genre, like movies and anime and things like that. So anyway, you have your hand, and so other than a little galactic spaceport phase, which you'll do, the first big thing you do is you're going to flip over a job. And again, most of the jobs are like, this is a salvage job, scavenge or wreck in deep space, bring back what you find, and then almost all of them turn into jokes, unless it's a xenomorph, or zombies, or space vampires. Don't bring back space vampires. And or like, call it security, or babysitting. Or this is bodyguarding. Call it security, or babysitting. It's usually easy money. And they set it up. I don't know that all the stories are humorous, but I sort of think that this leans towards humorous storytelling. But so you get your job, and you're going to roll some dice to determine how much money is on top. And I think it's 1 and you add some, but either way, you're just going to roll some money. You add it on top, and that is how much that job's worth. All right, so we have a job. We know how much it's worth, and now everyone's going to try to get the job. Now, this is a place where it gets a little mechanically specific. In your hand, you have resource cards. In the corner are symbols. We're then going to essentially play poker hands with those symbols for like 2 of a kind, 3 of a kind, a straight, a flush, that kind of thing, in order to win the job. Basically, it's sort of got that bluffing bidding thing where I'm going to call out a suit, a pair, next person can call out another suit. If it's higher than the last suit. So you can keep calling out and you can bluff, and if somebody calls your bluff, you can get penalized. If they miscall your bluff, they get penalized. So you just have this little who's going to get the job bit. Once you get the job, you find out how many rounds it takes, and I think this is the one where you roll an add on top. So I think it's 1 + 3, it depends on the round, but you're going to get more, you're going to have to go around 4 times to get this job completed. So you start by telling the story. In this case, it was the bodyguarding. Who am I bodyguarding? How am I gonna, it's about storytelling, right? So you got to be ready to storytell. If you don't have a group that is a group of storytelling, don't pick up this game. The game is fine, but it's about storytelling, and it also it doesn't really pull it out of you. I think other games pull it out of you more. This is really for people who like acting and telling stories and play role-playing games. So anyway, somebody will then drop one of the other players will drop an encounter on you. So they say, well, you've encountered military warships, and there's some icons on these cards. And so essentially, to pass those cards, to pass those icons, you have to use one of your cards. So you can your hand. If I have that, do I have one of those in here? I don't. But let's say I have somebody with a gear card here. Here, I have know-how. So I'm going to use my know-how to overcome the military warships. I think in one of my stories, it turned out the military warships were coming to get me. They found me, they stopped me, but they were having a problem with their AC, and it was like 115 degrees on the ship, and they were desperate. And I told them if they let me fix their ship for them, I'll fix their ship. They forget I was ever here. And it worked out for everyone. So you're sort of telling those stories as it moves along. Also, you can have a ship and bring it into play. And when you bring it into play, different ships have different space and costs, but you can have cargo, you can have crew, and you can have other passengers. And essentially, they become assets you can use to pass these different encounters by telling stories. You go around, you can ask for help from a friend, they can help you or hinder you, you roll some dice to find out what happens, and essentially if you succeed, you get all the money. If you don't succeed, somebody else might have taken over the job or everyone just failed. You wrap up and you do it again. The way the hands work and redrawing, it becomes very hard to get 2 jobs in a row. You end up not having cards to sort of win the poker hands. You could, but most of the time it'll go to somebody else. I love the look and feel of the game. I think that it's actually really fun narrative storytelling space that I don't get to tell stories in that much. So I really enjoyed the storytelling, and I think the card and card combinations work really well to elicit storytelling. For me, one of the challenges is when we were making the Siblings Trouble, it was how much, every time the gameplay got in front of the storytelling game, with the Siblings Trouble, we were like, let's go just make sure the storytelling's there. And here, you can just sort of get mechanically stuck in like, okay, gotta have the poker hand, and now is somebody helping me or not, and these icons. It just at times ends up feeling like the game is intruding on the story, and the game is, you know, just fine. So that's my only feedback. I feel like had fun, like this story space, but there is this odd combination with when I really have to focus on the game mechanics and when I don't, and how easy or hard it is to thwart people. I think, I don't know how much refinement there is to be had here, but I would definitely look to tone some things down and refocus on the story and character narratives and all of that, because to me that's where this fun is, and it does a good job of bringing that out. It doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't prompt story ideas outside of the titles of the cards. But it's a fun space and told some great stories. So, this is Galactic Scoundrels. Hey everybody, Edo here, and thanks for watching Gaming with Edo. Reviews over here on this playlist, League and Insider videos over here on this one. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But most importantly, play some great games. Thanks.